Wisconsin focused.
Yeah,
I suspect it was organizations that they had very well established relationships doing really innovative venture kind of things.
Yeah.
Which I can't fault for that. We're new, we're unproven, you know.
Chief of Government. Good evening, Laura.
You're on mute.
That's all right.
Okay.
Great. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Mass Transit Commission, City of Monona. This would be Wednesday, the 10th of April. You obviously have the roll. There isn't anybody here to make appearances. I'm gonna go right to unfinished business. Updates on the Madison Metro route and bus stops.
Yeah, just kind of, I just wanted to, just before we start, it's kind of more commentary. So the contracts, read down this. We talked to Justin, I don't know if you remember him, we kind of agreed on everything, because they had a whole template. And our attorneys involved, so basically everything's agreed upon, except for one issue, identification. So I think we, one way or the other, either we're gonna go with what we got or what Madison got. And hopefully the local attorney was gonna work with hopefully get a hold of the Madison attorney. Hopefully they agree and we'll have it on the agenda for Monday, so the council can get that approved. In May.
You said the one issue was identification.
Identity.
Yeah, that's the only one issue right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else, the attorneys all agreed upon, wording changes and stuff like that. So that's all agreed upon, and, once they kind of get that, they'll, sending us a schedule with the times and all that, so have it for the next meeting.
So at the council meeting.
At the next transit.
Okay.
So with that, so hopefully the contract's not gonna come to the commission, it's gonna go straight to the council.
Right. Right, and I believe it's been slated, assuming it gets done. It's been slated for May.
Yeah, it's put on Monday. Well, it might even be on the April meeting, this
Right.
April and then approval on this first meeting.
April 15th. Yeah.
Oh, so we don't have to, because the commission don't have to like review and approve the contract?
No,
No,
okay.
because it's all in the
Yes.
city attorney's hands anyway.
Yeah. Good.
To do that.
No.
even the stuff I never said in a meeting with them was stuff that attorneys, so
Yeah.
those two just talking.
Great.
Forum would be.
So in terms of the route and the stops, has this changed any since the last time we saw it?
No, so this is the official route that we picked
Yeah,
at the last meeting.
yep,
Now it's just kind of hammering down these stops. These are all the suggestions from Metro. What they recommended, so if we want changes. We just have to tell them what changes we want. This is their recommendation.
okay. So Doug, well, two things. One is the two things that we were concerned and that you're aware of, Mark, and I don't know if the commission was copied on this, but we're confident, Rick, you were. After the last meeting that we had Metro here, he did send what his initial pass, what he thought would be the time stops. There were 4 of them. And frankly, a couple of them worked and a couple of them didn't. I'm not exactly sure where the time stops are the
It's a
places where the bus pulls over and chills, so that if they're ahead of schedule, they get back on schedule.
Right.
And one of the things that our police chief was concerned about, from the very first time I spoke to him about it, from a safety standpoint, was making sure that those time stops were places where the bus could effectively pull over. The given is park and ride, right? And that's a great one because not only can they stop there, but the intention is that they would stop there as per union rules and be able to get out of the bus, have a smoke. Get, restroom break, have their meal or whatever they need to. All of which is driven by the union, their union contracts. So that works out really well, but then there were three others, and Mark, I couldn't find
Yeah,
the memo when I tried to pull it up on my computer. I couldn't find the original four, I don't know, Rick or Mark, if you could find it. That he suggested, but I sent them on to the police chief. With my concerns, and he shared my concerns with one of them, he basically shared his concerns, so I think it would be important for this group, and then they were gonna go back to the drawing board based on that, right?
yeah. And I forwarded on to Justin.
Right, but we never got back in terms of what they decided.
Yeah, I said,
Oh, so those aren't indicated,
no.
No, they're not.
because they're gonna
indicated.
be four
They're
of
not
these
indicated.
stops
Yeah,
will
but
be,
I think
okay.
that that's part of the safety
Yeah.
things that we need to be attentive to, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that. We had talked about the possibility of a time stop being at Pier 37. And that doesn't really work because they're doing the time stop at Park and Ride.
Correct.
And so it's too close. I mean, they can't really get by, they can't really get too far ahead.
Wait, remind me, where's Pier 37? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Metro Mart,
Oh, got it, okay,
right?
yeah, which would be great, because when the bus is late in the.
Right, but it doesn't make any sense for the bus to pull over there because it's so close to Park and Ride. And so they need to be, is that it?
Maybe that's it. When was that? 22.
And so,
222 and 3%. Yeah.
and then, so do you have the four that he originally recommended, Mark?
I think you have right now.
Some sending it.
Well, you can read them for the group, that's fine.
You, read them out.
Yeah.
Monona Drive at Cottage Grove.
Can you hear, Laura, can you hear Rick?
The 4 time stops, Monona Drive at Cottage Grove. Monona Drive at Dean. Monona Library. Monona Drive at Femrite. And Dutch Mill, so there's 5.
Sorry, go again, Monona. And Dean,
Monona Drive at Cottage Grove, Monona Drive at Dean, Monona Library. Monona Drive at Femrite. And Dutch Mill.
okay, and so for obvious reasons, I said Monona Library would work, we're not exactly sure. Where there, but there is actually a little pull off, a little indent at down at Civic Center. That's already there that they could pull to the side,
It's,
Yeah,
So-
one direction.
yeah, it's heading in one direction, the library side.
yeah, so, but I think, that, and we had talked about wanting one down by the Civic Center, because that would be a place where. If the bus was chilling there because they were ahead of schedule, that's anticipated to be a busy place between the library and the whole idea was. So we thought Monona Library would work depending on where it was put. And obviously Dutch Mill works. But the Monona and Dean and the other 3, Monona at Dean, Monona at Cottage Grove, and Monona at Femrite, didn't make any sense to me. Because Monona Drive at Femrite, that's the hill, well,
No, it's not anymore. It'll be on Monona Drive just after.
right.
Yeah.
But that's right at the top of it's like as you're going
Yeah.
up the hill, so in my mind, it doesn't.
think there's really any place along Winona Drive that's good.
right, I mean, there's not any
Kind of
curb,
what the police chief
Right,
said, yeah.
right,
There
right,
aren't any places that are
Yeah.
wide enough for a bus to not be in the traffic lane.
right, exactly.
Dean is the same.
And
Exactly.
not obscuring the bicycle lane while idling, which is terrifying when things idle in the
Right.
lane and you have to go out in the
Right.
flow of traffic to, on a bike to get around.
And so that's exactly what I said to
Yeah.
the chief and the chief concurred. The one place that I thought would work and he agreed, if I remember correctly. Like you've got the. Thing up was that there could be one instead of at Monona and Femrite. If they went up and took the turn at Owen and then parked basically between. Heritage and Monona Hills. There's already like a drive there that they could, again, this is not anticipated to be like a 20-minute. Chill, but the chief's thinking was. Going, that basically, you know, they could, once they got past Ken's and got past. The intersection of Owen and Monona Drive. That
That's
as you're
pretty
going,
spot.
before you get to Pheasant Hill, there's sort of between Monona Hills and. Heritage, that would be a good spot. Or potentially a good spot, and of course, going the other way, we don't have anything right now, it's. It's a bowling alley and an empty lot, so that would be, you know, and. We could certainly take that into consideration when and if a developer comes forward with a new plan for that.
I
Which we
think
are anticipating.
this is a good spot. Is that the spot you're talking about? This is on Owen, just at the south of Heritage.
Does it?
The reason I like it is
Oh,
because
we
it's
don't have a
across from
spreadsheet.
people, yeah, it's across from somebody's house.
Yeah.
I
So,
feel like if they can't select locations that are in front of residences because that will be inflammatory to whoever lives there. If
Right.
they aren't a supporter of the
right,
bus service,
right,
if possible to.
right.
Laura, are you following where we're at there?
I think so. Mhm.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
So the between like Heritage and Monona Hills was someone that the. The chief, I remember felt good about. Did he make another recommendation on
That pull
his
out at the
response?
library is not large enough for us.
The pullout in front of the library.
It's not big enough to accommodate us.
Can be.
Sure. You can make pullouts all over town. Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the library. The library at Nichols Road, it's gonna be under construction,
Right,
so Brad. They're gonna look at adding
Some space.
some space.
Yeah.
In the plan.
yeah,
The other thought I'd.
So-
Yeah, go ahead, Mark, sorry.
Well, they're actually gonna get rid of that one, that little,
Hmm.
by the library, so that's why they need. Two, they will put another one in somewhere else. One that fits school buses too, because Jake wants it for his programs, but
right, but we've got like, for instance, on Nichols, before you take the turn. On Nichols, on one side, you've got that parking lot that rarely gets used, it's by the gazebo.
yeah.
Right, and then, like when you're down closer to the skate park. In other words, as Nichols is redesigned, we could conceivably, don't wanna have it on top of the stop sign. But it would be fairly easy since we're having to redoing Nichols anyway, to put it. So that it's not on top of the hill.
Right,
Um, you know, and it's close to the senior center, so maybe it's just as we get past the pool of the senior center, I'm not exactly sure, but in any case, I think somewhere down there, since we're redesigning Nichols anyway. It would make sense to have, again, because that will be really handy too, like when there's community events going on or library events going on or whatever, that people, that's the bus would stop there, and so that leaves
And is it
the north end.
proximity of the elementary school there for the elementary school kids? Or is that, I don't know how the elementary school drop off works. Is that one that everybody has to get dropped off and they can't?
Yeah, the
We
element,
close school down here.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all gonna be resigned too, so we'll have to turn.
Oh, okay.
So they turn it into the school and you have to drive past the community center down to the school and come right back.
Mhm.
So there will be some type of intersection
Nice.
once it's redesigned.
yeah, so we can leave it up to the traffic engineer
That's what I
in
was-
terms of,
yeah.
leave it up to public works to say, we know we need a bus stop, we know we need a time stop for the bus. And working with Brian as the chief of police and working with public works and everything that they know in terms of the redesign to be able to say, we need, the pull-offs there so that, and that, so that really leaves, if we've got Dutch Mill and we've got something by Owen, between there, Monona Hills and Heritage, the challenge is up by Monona and Dean, up north, which they have Monona and Dean and Monona and Cottage Grove. I'm not imagining Monona and Cottage Grove having any chance in, that would be the same problem. It's gonna be the busiest intersection
Yeah.
ever.
With
As it is.
Monona and Dean, did they say they wanna idle on Monona or on Dean?
They didn't say.
Okay. Cause that's a left turn. Headed inbound, it's a left turn from Dean onto Monona Drive, so
Right.
they can't, so they'd have to go back Dean. Which we can't do because of, there's a half a block there without residential, but we can't go that far back and then still ask them to make a left turn. And similarly with the the right-hand turn might work, because that's the intersection, that corner's all being redone right now, right?
You're talking about, the blue, that redevelopment right there, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Bloom is not gonna, they're not messing with the sidewalk or the.
Are they gonna keep this curb cut that the bank used to use?
There will be curb cuts there because that's gonna be a drive-through bank still for BMO. So, but they're not messing with cause there's when we redid Monona Drive, they created special treatment for the median between the sidewalk and Monona Drive to make sure those trees would live.
Mm-hmm.
It's a special kind of, can't think of the name of it, but, so they're not messing with the sidewalk and not messing with those medians. And so I'm not seeing that as really an option. I mean, if anything, eventually I could see potentially the possibility, at least on one side, being parking lot at San Damiano, but that's a long ways away.
Yeah.
What happens with, currently with the high schoolers that ride the bus?
They get dropped off at school.
Okay, so there is,
There's no like bump out or bump in, they just
yeah,
stop and no traffic. It's not, they pull over to the curb,
Yeah.
they just go around.
and that's Monona Drive changes again.
It's right at the stoplight at whatever that road that crosses into the high school.
I mean, it's not a bad thing that they stop by the high school.
Yeah, cause I was thinking, like,
Right.
we know there's already. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
I was just agreeing, right. Right, it's good to stop by the high school.
I mean, when they unload a whole busload of kids, that must not be the quickest stop.
And there must not be too much traffic there because,
It's probably more two kids that.
Yeah.
You're talking about first student only has like one kid, right?
This is not.
Yeah, Monona Transit drops off a couple, but
Yeah.
the Madison
School
bus,
Madison, they just stop. But by La Follette, I drive by, you know, they have a little like, I don't know, just a bike thing, they just pull over in there
yeah,
and they
and
just get out.
ruin the road. But yeah, that's another one of those places that when the bus stops, they pull out, they block the bike lane and they block one of the two traffic lanes, and so
Yeah,
everybody is funneled through.
Yeah.
But long-term, that seems kind of I mean, right now, it's not an ideal place, but it seems like that would be a good, like where the route flows stopping spot.
right,
But it's gonna be years before we're doing anything on Monona Drive, right?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
20 years.
and well, for starters, we don't own that side of Monona Drive either, so it would be something that.
Oh, yeah, we don't own
We
the
don't
other
own the
side.
east side of it.
That's right.
I mean, the
Shoot.
school is on on Madison property. So we have to get the city of Madison to agree.
We will be doing Owen Road when we do the reconstruction, so it's. But reconstruction. Well, I suppose it's not, but when they do, cause we'll put, there's a place that goes, I mean, development goes in, I think that meant.
Oh, by the bowling alley?
We'd probably maybe do something there at that time, cause we'd have TIF money at the same time.
Yeah, and so we can,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
certainly take that stuff. How about if I do this rather than spending too much more time on it? How about if I talk to the chief?
And I can get a seven, if you want, me, you and the chief, with Justin, their engineers too, if you want.
Yeah, to say basically, you know, we've got 3 spots, but we're having a hard time on the north end and. I mean, maybe it would be better for me to talk to the chief first and then if we need to get together with that too, Ken, but anyway, and we're looking for a northern spot somewhere between. Dean, sort of the corner of Dean and Monona Drive and Cottage Grove. Right?
Yes.
So we're looking for something in there that would be. That could be a time stop.
Well, there is, with the redo. Okay, so I'm trying to think, is there a bus pull out? The satellite imagery of Cottage Grove at Monona Drive
Yeah.
/ Atwood that I'm looking at is the old. Build out of that road, but I'm thinking there's bus stops there, aren't there?
On Cottage Grove?
No, not on Cottage Grove, on north of the intersection of Cottage Grove Road on Monona Drive.
Yeah, they stop in front of Walgreens. There's a bus
Yeah.
stop with a canopy there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember if there's also a pullout or not. Right, because if there is, that seems.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
I don't think there is, yeah, I can't remember.
I think they just occupy the traffic lane for
Right.
the time they need to stop.
Right.
I think that's kind of the
Right,
way.
and I think it's a little bit, I mean. Brian's concern, the chief's concern was more, I think, on residential streets. Blocking traffic than as on Monona Drive.
Oh, that's interesting, I would think it'd be the opposite. Huh.
Traffic is blocked on the streets all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, he did say that, like, for instance, he just, you know, said he is concerned when the bus stops. On Flom. By the school or really across from Walgreens. You know, the bus will stop there, that's one of their time stops, and he thinks that's. Bad news, and again, it's just, I mean, he was saying that kind of thing concerns him, but again, it's because it's close to Walgreens and that's a 4-way intersection that has a lot of traffic. That's doing a lot of turning, people are coming across from Nichols, people are turning from Monona Drive onto Flom, you know, the school's getting out, and as intersections go on Monona Drive, that's one of the busier ones, because people are coming across from 51. Relative to any other metro environment, it's nothing, but relative to what Madison experienced, it's a fairly busy intersection.
Mhm.
So, but I think, to your point, I mean, maybe honestly, if you get up, that Walgreens is also Madison. So, the other Walgreens that you're talking about where the stop is. I mean, so we may not have,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway, it's not Monona.
Maybe
That's,
they can just be early sometimes. I mean, just be like, just be early
right,
or drive slower.
right, right,
I don't know.
right. I mean, there's really yeah, I mean, really we don't have to deal with the time stops, on the Madison side or in Madison, that's not our concern.
Right.
Our only concern is, our primary concern is what happens on 38 in Monona.
Mhm.
So, I think we've got some good,
Maybe we can
Options.
clarify, like. Are these time stops in both directions? Are they
No.
particular to a specific direction?
right,
Cause it seems like they're workable in some directions and not others.
right, and but the reality is that with the park and ride and the one we just identified on Owen and
Yeah.
the one that we just identified down at the city center,
That's
that's
those,
pretty darn good.
yeah, I think the Owen and City Center one are rather close. But, I mean,
Yeah,
again, it would probably not be the end of the world to have. Something on Dean Street,
right,
just not on Monona Drive.
right,
I guess I take the opposite tact, I think Dean Street would be okay. To pull over on, there's cars parked on the side of the road, so as long as there's a space that
right,
is blocked, so people can't park there and there's room for the bus. which
Right.
Shouldn't be at any bus stop,
right,
like, that's probably okay.
right.
I mean, it will be in front of somebody's house, but
It would be more problematic
it's not gonna happen every time.
early in the morning.
Yeah,
It's not gonna happen every time, and it would be more problematic early in the morning, just because, like, I know the cars coming out from. Dropping kids at school. At 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, Dean can be. It's not horrible, but there's
there's
definitely more
traffic, but it's
cars.
like, there's already cars parked on the side of Dean Street
There
in
is.
both directions.
There is.
It's allowed to park
Yeah.
there, so
Yeah,
they're not any more hazardous than that, I don't think.
right,
Unless they're lazy and they're like half sticking into the road when they pull over.
right.
That would be probably because
Right.
somebody parked.
All right, well, like I said, why don't I reach out to the chief and suggest that?
Cause yeah, Monona Drive at Cottage Grove is, that was just, I don't know that we're gonna solve that tickle for
We're
you,
not.
but.
Why not?
And backing up one, what about Buckeye at Monona? It's a complicated, weird intersection. Right, cause it's like part of it on the southbound side or the outbound side would be San Damiano. And the northbound side is the strip mall in there with Crema Cafe. We're not gonna probably be able to do anything, but I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts about a time stop there?
It's just as problematic as it is anywhere else along Monona Drive, I think,
Right,
Okay,
with regard to blocking the. For one lane of traffic
yeah,
or the bike
and the
lane.
bike.
and the reality is that the buses that are coming up Monona Drive, I mean, they're coming up Monona Drive now and they're stopping.
Mhm.
At their,
I don't have a problem with the bus picking people up at a stop.
Right.
It's more like, are they gonna be there for 3 minutes?
right,
Stopping up traffic, that seems hazardous.
Right, but they, for all intents and purposes, they can do that now, we, at the Walgreens, and we have no control.
Sure, if it's on the Madison side,
Right,
it's out of our hands,
right,
which would be Crema. Pretty much, right?
right.
Yeah. Where other, the
I mean,
other
that
routes,
whole, the thing is, that
GL,
whole east
where-
side from the. I mean, the whole east side of Winona Drive with only a tiny exception is Madison. So, um. I mean, we only have like the Femrite, right? And then it switches to Madison.
I think there's some Monona. On both sides of Monona Drive.
Well, yeah, if you from Flom or Nichols South, this one is, we're on both sides, but.
Okay,
So you're thinking that maybe they widen this here.
Yeah,
when they-
so anyway, let's not spend more time on this
I'll
piece
go by there.
tonight,
Yeah. It's like
we'll get, Mark and I and the chief and whoever will get together and
That
think
gives
about.
their space for that.
But I think we've identified some spots we can do internal on that. And on the internal route that would be safe, and we'll make sure that we relay to Brad.
Yeah.
When we're redesigning Nichols, as well as, you know, if anything comes up around the development for Owen, where the bowling alley is, that we take into account, that we're looking for some.
So for a little bit of context, this is kind of helping me think about it, is I'm pulling up the G and the L route to see
Yeah.
where their time stops are
Yeah.
in our community. And so the G comes down Broadway and then turns north on Monona Drive, then turns right on Flom.
Yep.
And their stops, their time points are Bridge Road at Broadway. Which is about where the letter G is on our map here.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
by
Yeah, Yeah.
Monona Bank, or
Yeah.
it's not called Lake Edge Bank.
Linkage back, yeah.
And then this next time stop is Alder at Flom, which I think is, if we look at the map in front of us, it's the second stop in on Flom Road. Across from the high school. So that's
Okay.
where the G route has its time stops
Yep.
in our community.
Yep.
And then for the L, their time stops in our area are. So shared time stop with the L on Flom Road at Alder. And then north is Dempsey. Milwaukee Road, oh no, and then that's the only one in Monona. They have another time stop way north up on Milwaukee Road in Dempsey by Woodman's.
They don't have them right here, but Creeks.
No, there's not a time stop in between there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks like, so that's kind of an interesting thing, because that says to us that the G and the L both have a time stop there on Flom Road.
Right.
And so for people switching buses, there could be an advantage to trying to get a time stop close to there.
Mm.
So if people need to hop between buses, they know,
A better chance of making a transfer.
yeah, I mean, the walk for me from Owen to Flom is 12 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, less than that, 6
Yeah, it's
minutes,
just
because
from
it's
here.
12 from my house to Walgreens, so,
Here,
yeah.
here, it's-
Yeah, no, it's like 6 minutes. Most of it is waiting for gap in traffic to get across Monona Drive.
Is there sidewalks on both sides?
Yes,
So you're saying the time stop again
Yeah.
on that is
it's that one right there.
third one in.
Yeah, and so that's a time stop for both the L and the G.
It's right where the shops are.
Oh, the second one in.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Yeah.
right, the one right on it, it's
Okay.
one back.
Well, that's all of a more of a reason, well. It's not more, okay, again, we'll talk to the chief and see if we can figure out the time stops. Do we have any other? Concerns about the. Stops that they've proposed? I do remember looking, by the way, I do remember looking at this in detail before we got it tonight, obviously, the last time we got it, and. These stops do adhere to the gold standard, if you will, of being. Largely no more than, you know, a quarter of a mile from any stop. On the 38, and that's, you know, that it's a little bit more for the people that live down, again, for the people that live down on Broadway. To get up to Owen, get up to the corner of Owen and Pheasant Hill. It's definitely more. If you were trying to get a bus. And the G route changed, cause the G used to go all just around John Nolan and take you right downtown. And now it goes to a transfer point. But it's still. In terms of overall coverage, it's the best we can do under the circumstances, so, So if these are the spots, Mark, I just don't know, the question becomes, I think for Metro. Did they transfer this to like the maps or something that we can, so we can see? Not that we're gonna, as a I wouldn't suggest that we become engineers as a transit commission to say. You know, can you put it on, 6 inches this way or a foot that way, but I mean, who decides? Who goes from here to actually
So they,
driving in the.
Putting a
States?
dot like there
Yeah, yeah,
with a dimension from the curb
yeah,
or the center line of the right of way.
basically it was just where crosswalks were or intersections were, is that's. So if you kind of look at. You know, like Broadway, that. Second one in Taylor, that's at the street light. Is it that? Right, so there's a street light right here, there's a cross section there, that's what that would be. But I can have them like do probably a better map, like where you can see the actual. The crosswalks on that side.
You gotta place like a sign to tell people that that's a bus stop.
Yes,
So they'll have to pick some.
yeah, so, yeah,
well, and that's what I'm saying, so here's the thing, I just, we need to know.
exact.
Exact location of where those are going, because. In order for us to take steps to address. Some of the safety concerns that people have.
We gotta stick signs on the ground too, don't we?
Yeah, well,
Well, I don't know, that I asked Mark earlier, who stuck the signs in the ground, and he said that Metro was gonna do some of it first, then we were gonna do it, and I was like, okay. So do we put sticks in the ground and then they come and they bolt their signs onto the sticks, or do they come and put the sticks in, who puts, you know? And that's the public
Part of the
works
reason
thing,
why
it's not us,
I didn't
but-
know, I didn't know what the process was, that's kind of why I was like, well, we could look at these spaces individually and try to. Provide input, but I don't really wanna do, I mean, that's not like,
Yeah,
I mean, I am not a. Traffic planner, I mean,
Yeah.
I could easily spend. Several days probably diagramming each of these locations and if we needed to, but.
no,
And if
I don't
it's
think we
needed,
need
then-
to, and I think Public Works actually is the one that should do it with Metro. But it would be nice for the Transit Commission to know that that's being handled. And it would be nice to know where they're going, so that if we have some simple safety things that we can do. Based on where the. May not be in relation to where the bus stops are, it may be in relation to hills or the school or whatever else, but. It would be. And obviously, we're gonna have to, in relation to that, there are gonna be some places, I know we're not gonna go hog wild with pads and all of that, because there's no need to do that right now, we have pads in some places already. But I just wanna know, I guess the thing,
I guess. Are these little dots
right,
okay for now until they can hone in those areas?
they're fine,
Okay.
I'm fine
so,
with this. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
How about if we make a motion that we agree these dots are good?
I
Or
move
these
to
stops are-
approve the general whereabouts of the stops as proposed in the Madison Metro route map.
Thank you, do I have a
Divided.
second?
I will second that motion.
Good, I have a second. Any other discussion? About the bus stops as proposed? All those in favor say aye.
Hey,
Okay,
So I will have. Call Justin tomorrow, talk to him tomorrow. Get with him in the Public Works and then have him narrow down to the exact areas where they think that. Fits into their crosswalks, sidewalks, that's the big thing, it's crosswalks, sidewalks.
I mean, I have a, you know, complete confidence in Brad, Mr.
Oh,
Dot the I guy, you know, from Public Works.
Yeah.
Not that Dan isn't, but they both are. I have complete confidence that if he was working with Metro in terms of where they go,
Yeah.
but it would be nice to know whether that's something that we have to queue up Public Works for. Or whether that's something that Metro does, or Metro just hands us
no, they.
60 signs and says, you know, a sledgehammer and says, go on, you know, go at it, or what, you know?
bag of cement.
I'll get Brad involved too, because he is really good at this.
He is really good at this stuff, being a GIS guy. He is. Uh,
When I see it.
so, and also, but also related to that, I think one of the things. If this is gonna be the route, one of the things that I would also like. To go back to the chief on. Is the safety related concerns, particularly around the school.
Which one?
Which
High school on Monona Drive?
No, I'm sorry, on the elementary school.
Oh, behind the library.
Yeah.
Got it.
Not behind the library, but,
By the
when-
community. By the community center.
yeah, by the community center.
So what's the concern?
What we've heard all along from residents is that you know, the school has actually put out. Safe school maps to tell people how to get to Winnequa safely, and people with kids. Like Caitlin, use that map to get to school, and obviously it involves crossing over at Winnequa at various points but a lot of other, you know, kids as well. And so as one example, it might be, I mean, I know we have crosswalks, for instance, down at the Civic Center already.
Right.
In a number of places, but you know, it
Don't
might,
people who walk to school come down Mainwood?
some,
That's where all the crossing guard, that's where the crossing guard is.
that's where the crossing guard is, right? So anyway, I agreed to meet with whoever it is, the facilities person or the principal or whoever at Winnequa. To look at their maps more closely and see if there was anything that they thought would be helpful in terms of the general. Mass walking to school in the morning and kids leaving. You know, in the afternoon. I don't think there's a huge amount, but for instance, where Winnequa School is. I think there's already a crosswalk to go from like the library side.
I don't think anybody goes that way. Everybody comes down Schluter, goes up to Mainwood. It goes across the parking lot. Just don't see anybody using that route to get to school there. I walk through there like every week in the morning, kids are coming to school.
Buses are.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I mean,
anyway.
they're driving
Hear-
by school buses
hear-
and not.
Hear me out, I'm
Okay.
not just talking about school kids, but I'm just thinking. That around the civic center. where we do have a lot of traffic and where we have the seniors and we have kids going to Winnequa school and where we have. A lot, pickleball, I mean, we have a lot that goes on there, one of the things that I was thinking about was. It might be an area where it would make sense, and again, I just wanna talk to the chief about, those areas that our police department sees, cause they're right here, they see it all the time. And whether or not it might make sense to like. Make the crosswalk green like they do in some other areas to make sure that it's pumped up, right? People see it more carefully and maybe one of those flash ones like they have at the high school. Where somebody's standing there wanting to go across.
They could
Um,
reduce the amount too, because there are 4,
for crosswalks.
right? In one block, there are 4 crosswalks. So if they could consolidate them into 1 or 2,
Right,
there's one there, and there.
Wow,
Nichols,
Yeah,
and that's part of the plan.
to consolidate those.
Yeah.
it's part of the plan when they redo Nichols, yeah. So I'm just saying, we're redoing Nichols anyway, so why not look
Figure
at
out the
that whole
safety
stretch if
features.
there's some safety features in there, again, that's a good thing for. Public works and public safety. To work on, it's not necessarily, cause we don't really have to worry about that, and honestly, I mean, it's not our. We're not the traffic engineers, Public Works is, they do the stuff all the time, and by the way, they put in pads all the time, they do all that themselves, we don't have to. Make people, some people that came and testified. We're talking about the huge expense for the overhead for this, and it's not, because everything that we're talking about in terms of bus, if we were building bus shelters.
Mhm.
Be a different matter, but as long as we're just talking about pads. And signs, that all gets done in-house, so. So anyway, I will, add that to my list to talk to the chief about in terms of as we're, and Mark. Just if you could just note that as we're redesigning Nichols, if we could. Take into account the bus, not only for. The pullout for a time stop, but also for safety. I mean, my own view is that since the bus can't go. Since the speed limit is slow anyway, and the bus can't go more than a half a mile without stopping. I don't think we're gonna see a bus 60 miles an hour going down the road, 'cause it's like, even if they put their pedal to the metal, by the time they. Get a little bit of speed up, they gotta put their brake on to get to the next stop. I mean, half a mile is this. Short length.
I don't think that they tend to speed through busy civic areas either.
They don't, but I'm saying even if even if that was their proclivity with stops every half mile. It's virtually impossible. It's not, but it's
If
not.
there's
their-
someone there.
Hmm?
If there's someone there. They don't stop if there's no one there, or if there's not a request to stop.
To stop, right,
Well,
yeah,
I would say like the liabilities there are the amount of crosswalks, and that's it.
right,
Otherwise, I think that's a rather relatively safe stretch of road.
yeah,
The visibility is good there. And the speeds are slow, and there's a curve that slows traffic down too, and.
yeah. The only visibility that I would say isn't so great is when you're coming up Nichols. To hit the top
Yeah.
of where Schluter is, right?
Yeah.
Which either goes to the left. Because you can't see. But otherwise, you're right, I mean, it's not,
But a big reason they're redoing Nichols is because of some of the pedestrian safety issues.
Sure.
I think that's the big part of the reason they got the funding.
And bikes.
right,
Actually, there is gonna be no bike lanes
Well, they're,
for the multi-plat.
yeah, through in between, which would be,
Yeah. Oh,
because right now there's like a bad sidewalk.
have you seen the plan, the multi-plat?
I haven't, I'm eager to, so I'll look it up and.
It's only seen out there, but I know that's fair.
Okay,
okay, so So does that take us to marketing next? Are we done with 5A?
Yeah.
So 6A, discussion of marketing.
And I put this on there when we talked about last time, start marketing.
Yeah, so needless to say, I didn't have a whole lot of time. I'm sure nobody else here did either, since we just got the agenda like yesterday.
Right, and I don't know that
Um,
we, I don't, yeah,
This is just kind of the start of the discussion, so at least
Yeah.
we can say, okay, come back with. next meeting.
Yeah, so
We don't have the times yet, we don't have the locations.
I was
Yeah.
thinking, that just off the top of my head, and I don't know if this makes any sense to everybody else, but I was thinking probably it would make sense to be thinking about it in two parts. Because, the marketing that I think needs to go to seniors around paratransit. And bus service is gonna be different. And the marketing is quite different in terms of modalities and the fact that seniors will have to, those that are interested will have to fill out applications. And there's a lag time there and all that. So I was just thinking generally, we're probably gonna have to do it in two different things, and that a lot of. Like that we're not gonna, I'm assuming. That we're not gonna have to advertise anything about the routes or even the times, because Madison Metro is gonna have all of them
Correct.
right, and
on their site, and we don't.
it'll be integrated into like Google and everything.
Right.
Yay.
That'd be,
I would say that like, we shouldn't necessarily make focused marketing materials for specific groups. I think we should try to have all of the offerings together in whatever we're sending to people or
Yes,
promoting, because again, we don't know who may or may not wanna take advantage of paratransit.
Sure.
But also don't wanna discourage seniors who are able to
Able-bodied.
take the regular bus, cause I think that will open up a lot of options and utility for people. You know,
Yes.
to use to learn and use the regular routes.
yes,
So I think we have certain demographics that we have to like make sure they get it, but I
Right.
think they should get it all, and
right,
it should be all in there.
correct, if I misspoke the way I stated, I wasn't
Sure.
suggesting that we would. Do different mailings, just that we, in terms of implementation. Paratransit would probably be different, because for instance, we might. It might be something that the senior center. Wants to help seniors, for those people that do need it, it might be something Diane's already mentioned, the senior center's already mentioned. If the application's too onerous, they might wanna help people fill
Yeah.
out the applications, and whatever else, so I was just
Yeah.
thinking in terms of.
Yep, right.
There are some differences, but I completely agree with you that the whole thing needs to be advertised, but really, it's about. Advertising. When it's happening. And where to go to get the information. More
Yes,
than, because we
Yes.
don't have to create the information.
I know that in Sun Prairie, the Madison Metro did all kinds of marketing. The sessions on how to ride the bus, free bus passes to all the high school students and then to other people for a while. They did a really good job of marketing in Sun Prairie.
Fantastic.
yeah, they did tell me that's.
maybe we should hang back a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah, so, yeah, no, I think what we should do is find out what Metro is
Yeah,
gonna
they said they.
Right.
get as much out of them in terms of what they're gonna do, so that we can build it into anything else that we wanna do.
I do know like they came to the farmer's market right in Sun Prairie with the electric bus. Yeah.
Right.
things like
Mhm.
that. So I know when I talked to Justin, that's one thing they said, once we get this signed, we wanted to start doing the marketing, so that's. So I don't know what marketing they're gonna do, so whatever they do for all the communities, they're probably gonna do it to city bus, so I should probably.
So tentatively,
Yeah.
filling out marketing plan, tentatively, we're looking at launching late summer,
December 1st, it'd be the earliest.
December 1st, okay.
But otherwise, January 1st. So I'll check on that, if we can do January 1st or December 1st.
Got it.
But you'd be looking at like a postcard and things like that, so mailer like that.
Depends on what they do.
Yeah,
They're gonna do it.
We have a budget for
We
marketing?
do.
we do.
Okay. What does it cost to mass mail postcard to the residents of Monona?
How much that cost us the last time?
Everything.
We did it for the survey.
Yeah, I don't remember, it wasn't.
Well, and the like comparison
Did you bulk?
flyer
Like
that
a
was sent
comparison
out,
flyer,
the hearings.
Okay.
I think all our marketing from last time was $5,000. I mean, it's everything.
I
Design, color.
just curious, just like. We haven't discussed our marketing budget in a while.
Yeah.
But so,
Well, I actually, when we passed this year's operating budget. We very intentionally left the money in. In marketing, in transit, and I said to the, and, you know, I got approval. From the mayor to basically say, you know, basically, we spend what we need to spend to make sure that this, we need to make sure it's a success and do our part. And honestly, Metro is gonna do a lot. But I do think it's gonna be important for us to put together a schedule as an example. In terms of our own website updates. Because that's gonna
Oh,
be,
yeah, website.
We wait to see if Metro can do like a senior day type thing where they go down to the senior center.
Mhm.
To help people with their applications, so
And I
I'll see
think
if
we
that.
wanna do some PSAs on VMO, I mean, there's a whole
Flyers,
articles in the Herald.
possibly flyers out through the schools.
Mhm.
I mean, in Metro, Madison Metro still does print books with the routes and schedules. You know, so there is the possibility
Do
of
they
saying,
really?
yeah, they still do occasionally print a whole lot of booklets. And have them on the bus, so there is the possibility of maybe getting a little mini booklet for Monona launch with like the bus routes that go through our communities and send out like a little mini. To get people who say, you know, there's a lot of people who aren't going to just hop online or go to Google Maps on their phone or transit app to get around, and this might be a way to get print information into people's hands about routes and schedules.
And one of the things that I know that Lindsay Wood Davis had suggested at one point, and I'm sure. We could arrange is just as a. Extra fun thing to entice people to try the bus, is he said he would love to do some live broadcasts on VMO.
from the bus,
From the bus.
I love this idea.
Yeah, and potentially live broadcasts on VMO with musicians.
I'll
So
be there.
like you board the bus and you,
I'm on,
yeah,
handpans on the bus. and I
yeah,
will have
hands on the bus.
10 handpan players jamming on a bus.
It's
It'll be
it's an
amazing.
old Bernie Sanders thing from Burlington.
might have the ridership immediately reduced if they get on and they're like, oh, stand on here.
All the hippies showing up with their drums.
So you're in a
But he
subway
was
car
gonna
and
do
a
some-
guy with a.
No, he was gonna do some live, you know, some live broadcasts anyway, which I think would be great. So we just, you know,
Well, I think.
it would
What
be, I'm
about-
sure that there's gotta be a marketing department of
Yeah,
sorts.
so
For
I'll,
Metro that has this outlined already since they've done it in a million communities, so if we could find out what that is.
yeah, maybe I'll see if that marketing person could come to the next meeting.
That'd be
Sit
great.
down.
The-
say, "Oh, this is
They
what we do."
they have outreach specialists.
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
I'll see if maybe if we sign a contract, they'll have somebody come in.
The
Okay.
other consideration is, like, there's a lot of people peripheral to the actual geographical borders of Monona that are gonna benefit from this bus service. You know, I'm thinking about like the Broadway,
Right.
Madison parts of Broadway that are gonna benefit from being able to get into Monona on the G. And similarly, the folks that are technically Madison addresses, but they're close to Monona Drive. So hopefully, working with Metro,
Yeah.
we'll get better coverage outside of just geo-targeting the borders of Monona.
I mean, I assume that they're like, their service area is their service area, and they're like, we will market to the entire thing.
Right.
That's how their success is,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
is achieved as well.
And,
This all makes perfect sense, it's like,
Right.
you don't wanna open up a service and then not tell anybody about it.
Right.
right, and the other thing, and I would assume it's the same thing, like with Mespa, right? I would think that Metro would wanna reach out to every single one of the businesses and say, hey, your employees can now get to, you know, Monona, via the bus, so, yeah, I mean, I would think that they would really, really, really want to promote it.
And Mark, similarly at Metro, who is responsible for the partnership agreements for selling passes at different businesses? Right, cause I'm pretty sure like Woodman's, you know, there's businesses that sell bus passes.
So I don't- I
And-
don't think it's- so I'll have to talk to
Yeah,
Mason.
cause we're gonna wanna have people be able to potentially say, come to City Hall here in Monona and buy a bus pass. Go to Metro Market and buy a bus pass, buy them from the library if the library does that. So enable our civic organizations to make it easier to buy the passes.
Maybe we just order a box of 1,000. Back in the day when I was in middle school and I rode the bus, they'd sell them at the school in a little flip pad.
Yeah. Well, and
But I
now
mean,
they're rolling out
They
the
must have,
RFID cards though.
somebody has to pay that,
So we're gonna be getting the
Yeah.
cap cards.
yeah.
Metro's rolling those out June first, I think.
Is that what I do? I know.
No more paper?
No more papers, fantastic.
Yeah, and credit card payments, thank heaven. You can buy the passes at the kiosks with your credit card and refuel them with your credit
Yeah.
card on the like big,
So it's kind of reusable.
yeah. So having places
then
for
you-
people to buy those in our community, I think
So
will be.
if you are a distributor of that, you have to be able to have equipment that allows you to charge it, you know, or
Mhm,
put it,
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we need.
unless you're just giving somebody a blank one and then they have to like register and fill it
Yeah.
themselves, which would also make it pretty easy to sell.
Well, and if the cards are cheap. I don't know, free two ride bus pass so that they actually have the card,
Yeah,
right? And you've got a round trip on us, and then you can have the card. And be able to just refuel it when you need it.
well, I mean, Mark was saying part of their outreach is that they give free passes anyway, so maybe they do that already.
Yay, we want
That's-
to.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, we should, especially if we're
I've
having.
got a couple
face-
in my wallet, a couple free passes that I was staffing a League of Women Voters table at Black Women's Wellness Day. Madison Metro had a table there. They were giving away mugs and passes and
Right.
I'm so jealous.
I think sunglasses.
Free bus, I'm like, I wanna check my passes.
So they gave away sunglasses?
I think so. I have a mug I know.
Okay. Great, well, we'll find out, we'll learn more, we got a few ideas here, but we'll learn more from Metro first before we create a plan.
Mhm, mhm.
So basically, we need to learn more from. Public safety, I think the sum of the meeting is we need to learn more from public safety and from PW and from Metro about. How this all gets, the infrastructure gets built and
Hmm.
what they do for marketing. So that we can plug in. But it sounds like they may have a lot of it already handled.
I mean, I'm sure they've done, like you said, some Prairie and Fitchburg, Middleton, they all have down to the side and stuff.
Yeah, and as we pointed out, you know. They don't succeed if this doesn't go. I mean, they've invested a ton of money into this redesign. So, it makes sense that they would invest in implementation, like any good business. Great. Anything else on marketing? Then anything else on suggestions, contributions to DEI initiatives?
I would say one thing, and this is. Staff has a goal, and one of those things was to get Metro approved for the DEI, so this is actually one of our big DEI initiatives internally. So this is meeting that goal. And also, just another thing coming up, there's, maybe you're gonna hit on, they're doing a Henry Whitehorse.
Harry White.
Harry.
Yeah. So,
Take it away.
that's coming up here pretty
Yeah.
soon, so that's a big DEI.
It is a huge thing.
Oh.
It's, so let me just say too, that as it relates to DEI initiatives, because this is something that I've heard a little bit about from a few people, when I say DEI, people automatically go to ethnicity.
Yes, it's not.
And I think it's really important that we understand that it's, you know, when we're talking about inclusivity and equity, that we're talking about equity on a whole bunch of different fronts. And the reason why the bus was so important in that initiative was not because I heard it from, again, you know, somebody actually said to me, you know, that there were some people of color that were feeling used by the Transit Commission. Because we kept bringing it up as a DEI thing. And I was like, yeah, it was unfortunate because of course, the whole point is that you can't have equity if the bus runs only 2 times in the morning and 2 times in the afternoon, and only if you work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and only if you work at the UW in downtown. Like there's nothing equitable about that. In terms of access. You know, so. You know, and that's just one other angle of it, right? It's just, so having regular service. Is most definitely makes it more equitable. And it's not just about whether it's people of color or not. So that would also be the case for our events. And the event that Mark started to bring up is on June 14th to the 22nd. Winona will be the Friends of San Damiano and a very visionary group of private citizens, mostly Ho-Chunk, will be producing and delivering the Harry Whitehorse International Wood Sculpting Festival at San Damiano. And it's just gonna be gigantic, and it keeps getting larger all
It
the
keeps
time.
getting bigger.
It's just gonna be gigantic. I mean, it's gonna be, it'll eclipse. I mean, I don't wanna say it'll eclipse the community festival, but it could very easily eclipse the community festival, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be from the 14th to the 22nd with opening ceremonies on the 14th. We have 12 sculptors. Who will be sculpting all week. And about half of those are indigenous, coming from all over the country as well as from Peru. Indigenous sculptor from Peru, and the other artists are coming from other parts of the world as well, mostly Europe. And then there'll be workshops and demonstrations every single day on site. There's gonna be a beer garden in the middle of it, and
Music
Music
stage and
Madison.
bands make these
right,
events.
Madison's gonna be playing at the end
Cashbox
of it,
Kings
Cashbox
is coming
Kings
in.
is doing the beer garden, so. It's we got a just under $50,000 grant from a GEM grant from the state of Wisconsin. From Travel Wisconsin, so it's being promoted all over the Midwest. With huge ad buys on social media, with social media ads as well as in publications. It's gonna be huge.
With managing logistics.
A whole crew, a steering committee,
Yeah,
a whole bunch of volunteers.
Wasn't it?
And the artists are gonna be staying, artists are staying mostly in people's homes, host homes
Cool.
in Monona. Those
I
are
think it's
all,
great. I think it's gonna attract regional visitors and
you
Oh,
bet,
yeah, it's gonna be lovely.
yeah,
figuring out where people are gonna
yeah,
park. I hate to say that, but it's gonna be the challenge, I think.
it's gonna be great. We've got all the parking, we're gonna have shuttles, we got all the parking.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I can just walk there from my house.
yeah.
Will.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a great event, so there's already things out saying volunteer, the sign up junior should be put together in the next few weeks so that you can actually volunteer for slots, but. There's just a one of the things that was really exciting last week was there's a public information meeting, MG21, which is. Been a huge supporter of it because Jean Delcourt, who's the visionary behind it, is a teacher at MG21. Three members of Harry's family came to the public information meeting. They informed us that the whole family is gonna be here. And we were hoping that would be the case, but they're all coming in. So from all over, and he had a big family, he died at 92, and he had 6 kids, all of whom have their own families and kids. Before, he was married to Deb Whitehorse, who lives here in Monona. So it's gonna be gigantic. And it's not just his family, it's his clan, they're all coming in too. So,
Exciting.
it's part of the Bear Clan, so. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be,
Is there admission?
no,
Show
it's
up.
all free,
Nice.
it's all free. Opening ceremonies will include, John Greendeer, who's the president of the Ho-Chunk Nation, and Mary will both be speaking, but, most importantly, it'll include drummers and dancers. It won't be a traditional powwow, but it'll include drummers and dancers and something else. Oh, and then Indigenous color guards coming down from Baraboo because Harry was a World War II veteran. So we'll be acknowledging his service as well. The whole thing is to celebrate him because he was an amazing artist. And the artists that are here are gonna get a tour of all of his work in the area at one night. They're gonna all go around Madison and Dane County and see the installations of his work all over, and then they'll be going to eat together, so. It's been a huge undertaking, but it's been gonna be great. Mark your calendars. Anything else? Addie's has been doing grant writing for us and has been doing
Yeah.
fantastic job. It's a really great group of people.
Yep. Exciting festival.
It is. All right. If there is nothing else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
We are adjourned.
lovely.